Hello, welcome to another episode of Swapping Joysticks. I'm your host, Ben Ostwick, otherwise known as Biggest Bennis, and joining me, as always, is Ed Nightingale.
Hi, Ben.
Hello, it's a very special episode.
It's a very special episode. We have a guest who we will bring straight in. You may know him as the voice of Bayek in Assassin's Creed, but also he has a brand new game coming out called Tales of Kenzera. It's Abubakar Salim. Abu, welcome.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you for having me, man.
How's it going?
Oh, nervous.
Not because of this, I hope. I'm sure.
No. Honestly, I'm very nervous. I'm sort of trying to deal with the madness of everything that's happening and kind of be okay with it. I think I'm okay. I think I am.
I'm sure you're okay. So, we're recording this like a week before Tales of Kenzera Zao comes out. So, I guess, how are you feeling? What are your plans in the next week? Is it just waiting to see what happens, or are there things still to be done?
There's quite a lot still to be done in regards to like calming my nerves and calming the team's nerves. No, there's I think it's now at a point where we have no control, right? It's a train that's just continuing to go. We're all feeling nervous, both and excited as well as terrified, but at the same time we're all just really happy that we've got this far. This is the first time we've made a game as a team, worked together as a team, like first time I've made a game, I'm just really happy we got here. We've been able to announce to some really on a really cool stage, talk about the game to really cool people. It's very surreal, very, very surreal.
Yeah, I was going to say was it the first announcement was the Game Awards? That's when that was the big reveal.
Yep, it was.
How did that feel like?
It was
on that stage.
It was frightening because it became real then. It sort of like beforehand we were building this game behind the scenes and it was our little secret. And we were kind of just building it as we were going along. And then as soon as we announced it at the Game Awards, and as soon as I stood on the stage and I told the world about it, it became very real. It became like, this is a thing that we're launching on this date on these platforms. It was like, oh, okay, now we've got to actually deliver.
There's no going back.
Yeah, there's no going back. And the thing is as well, like I think as I was there as well, just talking about it, I was very much like I was being very emotional. And at the same time as I was being emotional in my head, I was thinking, oh man, I really hope they like the trailer. I really hope they're gonna like the trailer. Because it's like that whole X Factor, sort of sob story you see on TV. I had that moment of like, oh man, this is my X Factor sob story. What am I doing? And then, so happy that it actually landed really well.
It really, really did. Like I was like, obviously we've got the reviews coming up and then there's the release and the feedback then. But like right now I've been watching quite a lot of videos of it. I've been sneaking a peek at Ed playing it as well.
Yeah.
And I was watching some videos, like all the comments are just nothing but endless positivity from like the ones that I liked. Obviously you'll get the odd one, but like there's so much positivity and like goodwill for this game. How does that feel?
It just feels incredible. Like, again, it's that whole thing of, you don't know how you're going to be supported essentially, or how you're going to be like taken in. And I think like for me, one of the big learnings now that I will take with me to everything that I do is like, as long as you're just honest and vulnerable and truthful, like you're kind of immortal, because at the end of the day, you've got, you've kind of bared all and you've got nothing to hide. So I sort of went in with this sort of mentality of like, no, we've always got to ensure that we've got to always earn the trust of the people that we're sharing the story with, and that's through making a really cool and fun game. But the fact that the support has been there from like day dot has just been utterly surreal. Like I can't even put it into words. It's the reason why we do so many giveaways, and it's the reason why we're so communicative on socials. Like I'm not really a social guy. Like I don't like social media. Like I find it very weird. But the reason why I think I've been so active on it is because of just the love from the people. Like it's just been so real, man. Like so real.
And it's obvious that you are you know, you play games, you're into games a lot, and you're kind of, I guess in some ways it feels like you're sort of living the dream, you know, getting to go on all these amazing platforms and speak to all these like super cool people. Like, how does that feel then from sort of being a gamer and having that love for gaming?
Yeah, it's again just a really cool experience, and it's so different from like acting as well. Like, you know, because normally in acting you're traveling around the world, you know, filming on really cool locations. Then the press tour happens, and you get to talk to some, you know, people here and there. But the thing is, it's like it always feels like it's part of the job. Whereas with this, it really does feel like, you know, it's just me, Abu, just talking about what I'm doing, with just like a hobby. Like, it's really good fun, and like, you know, I'm having a great time with it. So yeah, it's nice to almost as well feel like a gamer who is now making a game, because you also have such a respect, like an unlimited respect for game developers as a whole, because making games is not easy. Like, it is a mission, man. Like, it is like so hard. And so, you know, you're putting a face behind these games, which I know it sounds really weird, but I think a lot of the time you kind of forget, right? You forget that there are people behind these things. And I think something that I've kind of taken with me on this whole thing is just how much work is put into making an experience to be shared. And there are so many experiences out there. There's so many games out there, you know?
Yeah. Far too many. Too many to play.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, how is it for you, like, in regards to getting so many games that you have to, like, either review or talk about or just share? Like, it must be so much.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm terrible because I'm very much a completionist. So I have to, once I start something, I have to do everything and I have to finish it. And when you've got
no social life, no social life.
I have no social life. You know, when, you know, I reviewed Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and that's, you've got 2 weeks to like rush through this 65-hour game and just have no life for those 2 weeks. And it's like,
God.
It's hard playing games under that pressure, because I think you have a different mindset of sort of being analytical more than sort of just sitting back and enjoying it. And sometimes you have to remind yourself to just say, no, you're going to just sit and enjoy this game for what it is and appreciate it and not overthink it so much.
Yeah. That is just, I can't imagine having like the pressure of having to sort of, like, I play games and enjoy them because, you know, when the time presents itself, but the idea of like having to not only like play them, but also analyze them, man.
Yeah.
Do you play games? Do you look at games now that you play with a different eye?
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Oh, I find it so hard to like now play a game and look at it in a sense of just pure enjoyment. I think the last game I played of pure enjoyment was probably Gato Roboto. You know, that crazy weird cat game. Like, it was so surreal that I kind of was able to kind of escape in it and kind of lose myself. Whereas everything now is a study. It's like, what is their game loop? How does it work? Let's hear their music. How do they use sound? You know, how does the character feel to move? And I'm like, I need to stop. Like, I really just need to enjoy this, you know?
So what got you into gaming in the first place? What were some of the first games that you played and enjoyed?
Yeah, so I'd say the first sort of games that I played were from my earliest memory or recollection of memory is on the Mega Drive. It was Golden Axe. Yeah, man, it's a great station, honestly. Golden Axe and Sonic, and those are the sort of the games that I remember my father playing with my father, essentially. But I'd say, like, you know, my true love for games, or like, you know, the moment where I, you know, saw that games are an art form rather than necessarily as just this kind of entertainment thing that you kind of, you know, pull on, was when I played Kingdom Hearts on the PlayStation 2. It was a moment where I realized, you can actually tell a story and move people here. Like, and it was just really powerful. I think even like, you know, playing Ocarina of Time on the N64, it was a great game, but I still saw it as like a game in a way, you know, and rather than like, you know, falling in love with the story of Link and Zelda. But really, it was Kingdom Hearts that sort of transformed my perspective of games entirely, just because I think it caught me at a time again when I was growing up and I'm learning, you know, I'm taking in stories a bit more, And also, I think it was the protagonist's sort of simplicity of just wanting to bring his friends back. I don't know why, it just really connected with me and resonated with me. And that's why I just fell in love with the power of storytelling through games.
I mean, the taste level here. I grew up on Sonic and Zelda, so
I'm with you. Right.
I actually just recently played the remastered version of Kingdom Hearts, just a few hours of it, and I was like, this holds up really well. It really holds up well. And actually,
honestly, the thing is if I played it now, though, I probably wouldn't have any idea what the hell is going on. But like at the time when I was playing it, it all made sense.
Yeah.
I swear things make more sense when you're a kid anyway.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, PS2 was for me as well. Actually, I think Final Fantasy X was the first time I realized that it was kind of the power of storytelling, like in a game. So, great console. I was watching a video earlier. We're going to talk about it later with because you had a silver PS2, was it?
Yeah, it was the Aqua. It was the Aqua PS2, man. Nice. Oh, what a PS2! I remember getting that in Argos. That was fantastic.
And the little logo that you could turn over if you were having it on the side or on the top. Yeah.
Oh man, so good.
Did you find out if it still works?
I didn't actually plug it in. I was too scared. I didn't want to ruin the moment.
That's fair. That's fair. So how did that passion for games then translate into a career in acting and becoming a voice actor?
So again, like I think I've always loved the idea of telling stories. So storytelling is my, I think that's the thing that's really, it's the anchor to everything that I do. And the stories that were being told to me through games, be it, either, as I said, like Kingdom Hearts, or even, within the Warcraft series, that kind of stuff, it really sort of made me want to jump in and play these characters, right? And the closest, place I could find that was essentially doing drama at school, playing these characters, jumping into their shoes. And it just sort of naturally evolved there. I didn't know that you could, as I said, like I didn't know you could have a career in games. I was very much of the mentality of like these games were just made by like magical people and suddenly, they pop into your screen and whatnot. So I had no idea about that. But like as sort of time went on and I realized that, acting is really cool and you can actually make have a career out of it. I've still always loved and played games. And funnily enough, like even when it comes to the characters that I play, I always base them off a game character. That's where my start off point is. So it just sort of kind of developed from there. And it was only until I did Assassin's Creed Origins where the reality of the fact that people can are making these things kind of hit me. And it was step Montreal office and sort of seeing these people really enjoying the work that they're doing and the art that they were crafting, where it really inspired me to be like, oh man, like I want to do this. I want to tell stories in games as well. I want to be more actively creating these experiences rather than necessarily just playing a small cog in it. I think that's where the seed started. But I mean, my acting really, as I've always said, it's always been inspired by the power of storytelling in games as a whole.
Bayek was just that Assassin's Creed games. Like actually the only one I've managed to play to the very, very end, and I did it really quickly because I just loved that story, and that was like the one, like the Assassin's Creed game that really kind of hit home with me. And I played Bayek as well. So
that's so cool.
So you were saying that when you're playing acting or when you're playing characters, you kind of base them on video game actors. With Bayek, did you do any? Was like the direction so good you didn't need to, or did you in your head base it on any character?
It was actually, funnily enough, based and taken from Tristan Delala. He played who did he play again in Black Flag? Did you play Black Flag?
I didn't.
I got mine with the PS4. And it's still rapping, which I need
he played a really cool. He ended up having like his own spin-off, like DLC sort of assassin.
What was his name again? Sorry,
his name was Tristan Delala, and he played. It's on the tip of my tongue. Wait, I know I'm gonna see it now, and it's gonna kill me, and it's gonna annoy me. Oh God, who did he play? Adewale. So Adewale in Black Flag. He played Adewale in Black Flag, and that was where where my starting point for Bayek came in came in from. And really, truly, actually looking at all the previous Assassins and what they did. You know, you look at Ezio and you know what Roger Craig Smith did with that. Like that was really, really awesome. So, yeah, it sort of that's kind of where I kind of began, and I also wanted him to be his own being, right, his own person. So yeah.
And Tristan is in.
Yeah, he plays Kalunga. So the casting of Tales of Kenzera all stems from my relationship with friends and my kind of my journey there. You know, Tristan was the first person I acted with in a motion capture space for Assassin's Creed, and he took really good care of me. So I was like, cool, thank you for this. I'm going to bring you in in a game that I make. You know, Steve Toussaint was incredibly welcoming on House of the Dragon when I've just joined, because it's very hard as an actor to join a season of the second season of a TV show when the first season is already done, right? So that was that moment, and I wanted to bring him on. And, I could honestly go through the personal stories of each and every actor. But yeah, Tristan was the first casting, essentially, of the game, because I was like, yeah, this guy is dope, and I really like him.
Oh, nice loop.
I love that it's come full circle. That's
amazing. Yeah.
So let's talk about Tales of Kenzera then. So it's out next week. It is very much based.
It's out this week, because this is going out on Monday.
That is true.
Yeah, so
that
just
is
don't want to trick anyone.
And it is, as you've been very open about, sort of based on the story of sort of you and your father and your experience with that. And you touched on this earlier, but why was it important for you to be so open about that story in particular?
Yeah, I think, again, it was that whole thing of, if I had the opportunity, again, in my head, if I have an opportunity to tell a story, I want it to be as authentic and truthful as possible. And so, like, really something that, again, and the driving factor, because I think there was a part of me that knew that this was going to be a very long and hard journey making this game. And so I needed it to come from a source where it felt like I had to do this. It had to come from a place of passion, and trying to convince as well people to join me on this project who, again, I've never made a game before. I've just voice acted in one. It's like, to really get them on board, I had to basically essentially be like, hey, I'm telling the story from the heart. Are you going to come and join me? So that's why it had to come from such a personal place, because if I don't ever get the chance of doing something like this again, I want to be proud as well of the project that I was able to kind of create and release out there. So that's where it really stems from. It was a drive of needing to express myself in a true form, but also in the same time tell other people as well, like, I see games as an art. They're not just a thing that you kind of enjoy then throw away. Like, it is an art form. It's a form of expression. It's got its ups and downs, and the more pure I can be with that, the better.
Yeah. And there's a short film that's just come out as well. Sort of is you, again, sort of talking about that relationship, which I just want to shout out because it's really beautifully done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think anyone who's interested in the game, go and
I'll post a link in the description as well, so people can.
Thank you.
See it.
Thank you. Yeah, it was one of those pieces as well. Like, it's funny. The sort of the Ridley Scott crew have really been supportive.
Just casual name drop there.
Yeah, I know.
Nice.
Look, they've been really supportive of the artistic endeavors that I've wanted to go forward with. They've really seen, I feel like they've seen something in me that they want to champion. And especially, I started the studio at the same time as getting Raised by Wolves, right? So, like, it was one of those moments of like, yeah, they believe in this, so I've got to go with this. So it just was almost like full circle to sort of, then make, my directorial debut of a film, like, and be something so personal with them as well. So yeah, it was really the film was such a process, man.
Yeah, I bet. And the game itself, in terms of the process, has that been quite difficult, or has it been actually quite healing for you to sort of go through it?
It's not been difficult. I'd say, like, on that aspect, I'd say it's been and funnily enough, it's not, I don't know whether healing is the word. I'd say like it's been more, it's been welcoming, like, in a sense of like it's allowed me to grow and push and play and discover things about not only my relationship with my father, but also relationships with just myself and my grief. Like, it's been really eye-opening, essentially, as a whole. And I've realized as well, the more open I am and the more vulnerable I am and the more sort of truthful I am about it all, the easier the process has been. You know, reflecting and connecting it to the mechanics as well of the gameplay and also to the story. Like, it's all been part and parcel a brilliant and beautiful experience.
And it's based as well on Bantu tales, which are sort of these traditional stories that you experience with your father as well. What are some of those tales about? Do you have a favorite one as well?
Oh man, I do. It's a long one, and I would just suggest going to read it. But it's a tale essentially about a king who grieves for his wife, and he basically puts his whole village in a space of mourning, and he sends the doctor or the witch, you know, the sort of the shaman of the town, essentially to go and find his wife back or bring his wife back. And it's a beautiful tale, really interesting and really cool. And depending on who tells you it or where you read it from, it evolves over time. But yeah, and again, the thing about Bantu storytelling, and, you know, a lot of this, you know, the stories as well are kind of inspired by the stories that my father would tell me, as well as, you know, kind of what I would experience and learn out there. The beauty of them are it's very much an oral storytelling tradition. So it's all about sitting around and just talking about it and sharing it orally, rather than me giving you a book and then basically saying, you know, have at it. So yeah, there is something really powerful and potent about the Bantu myths and legends that I just wanted to express, again, in an honest way, because these are the stories that I grew up on. Do you know what I mean? This is the stories that I've been surrounded by. So yeah, it was really integral to sort of represent that in this game.
Even just you sort of saying that story, I'm like, okay, I can see the sort of the threads of
you see what I mean?
Of where that's come in. But also I like how some of the other stories come in with the different abilities that you collect in the game, and how that's all integrated. Yeah. Like, it feels just a real celebration of those stories.
It is a celebration. I think that was, you know, what I wanted to give from the get-go, was that this is a celebration rather than necessarily an education. I don't want to teach people like about Bantu myth or elements of that, right? I want people to go down a Wikipedia wormhole about the Impundulu and about like all that kind of stuff, rather than necessarily me teach you about it. So yeah, that's really why you know, where it comes from and why it's a thing. It's like it's all about celebrating these stories.
Were any other family members involved in your game? We saw in the short film that your daughter was testing it out.
Yeah. Yeah, my daughter was also, yeah, my wife was in it as well. Like, she, you know, she helped, you know, she was, I mean, she's been there from the get-go, so from the inception of this whole thing. And then, you know, I'd say, funnily enough, they were really the only, well, you know, my wife really was the only person who knew what kind of game I was making. I didn't really tell my family what game I'm making and where it's coming from until I announced at the Game Awards.
Wow.
So yeah, I was very like, what's the word? Not reserved, but like I was a bit afraid of sharing, you know, sharing it with them.
What was their response when it was announced?
I think they got it. They understood. They were like, oh, okay, this is how you express. This is how you share. And I think that was, you know, something especially from my mum I'll never forget, like my mum, you know, I always as well said, like, look, I've got to find a way of getting my mum to play a game, because she will never play a game for the life of her. But when she saw this, and she kind of, you know, and even me telling her like it's going to be in Swahili and everything, she was like, wow, I don't think I would have ever have seen this. This is amazing. And it really moved her. And I think that was the point, right? It's the point is to move people, to inspire. And so that's what's really exciting about it all.
Yeah. What are some of the key inspirations then behind, I guess, the gameplay side of it?
So again, it all stems from grief. And what I mean by that is that it's like, okay, put it this way. So I knew that, you know, we were going to be a small team making this game. So the decisions that we had to make were very much like, it was important. You can't pivot. Like pivoting for us is so, it's like, it's career suicide. Like you just couldn't do it, right? So when it came to the design elements of it all, and the gameplay elements and factors of it, we again looked and focused at what grief meant, what grief is, and what that journey is. And for me, it's messy, it's chaotic. There's a lot of agency that you have in grief that you wouldn't necessarily, you know, you wouldn't necessarily expect. And what I mean by this is, so for example, the Metroidvania genre. Metroidvanias are built on this idea of being thrown into something that you have no idea about, and you have to learn about it over time. The longer you spend time in it, the more comfortable you get in it. And that's essentially what grief is. It's like, it's something that even though you could expect it to happen, and it happens to everyone, when it actually happens, you have no idea what you're doing. You have no idea what you're feeling. And it's like, for the first time, it's sort of, it's like a storm. It's madness, right? But these elements that you kind of discover about yourself, about the way that you see things, about the way that, you know, the world just continues spinning, and you feel like, why isn't no one listening to me? It's very isolating. All these things end up becoming elements that you then are able to use in order to get through it. So, you know, the abilities that you gain, and the, you know, the obstacles that you see to begin with, they're all there to show you like, okay, here's a barrier. This is something that you're not going to get past, but you have to almost go full circle in a way of experiencing it, getting it, then moving forward, then using it. And that's essentially what grief is. You'll feel angry, you'll feel sad, you'll feel almost a sense of relief. And maybe the first time you may feel these things, it feels overwhelming. But then when it comes back at you, you know, be it like a month, a year, or 10 years down the line, you almost use it as fuel to drive you forward and doing something really, really cool, or putting it in some way, shape, or form. And that's kind of what, you know, inspired elements like the abilities that you gain, you know, and that sense of, as well as even the combat. Like for me, what I was really crucial about the combat and even the mask switching. So I'll talk about the mask switching a bit. The mask switching comes from this idea that you're constantly having to wear different masks wherever you go, even though you are suffering behind that mask. So and the amount and how quickly you change that mask is very important. So for example, me talking to you now, my mother could call me right now and I'd have to change my mask and change the way that I talk to my mother. It's just natural, it's instinctive, right? This phone call will end and I'll sit here in a moment of silence. It's a different mask. It's my own mask. And so these masks are constantly switching, and it's a way of essentially progressing through life, moving forward. You have to wear these masks. And that's something that I really wanted to represent in the game, and how quickly you switch between the masks and how you have to, you know, depending on the obstacle that you're facing and fighting. And then when it comes to the combat, you know, depending on your play style, you can button mash, you can go crazy on it, or you can be very, you know, surgical and choose the moments of when you go for. And that's genuinely life. That's the kind of madness of and the sense of freedom that you have on this journey. You don't know what to do. Do you, you know, go out raving and you know, and try and expel yourself that way? Or do you just sit at home and eat a tub of ice cream? Both ways aren't wrong or right. They are just your way. And that's the option that you kind of are filled with. I remember, you know, after my father passed, I was almost struck with this sense of responsibility of feeling like an adult, you know, of like, oh, right, I have to be the man now. I have to be the man of the house, or I have to, you know, take responsibility. What does that look like? What does that mean? And I think like that's what I wanted to represent in the combat. So that's essentially how the design and elements of the game came by. It came through looking at life experiences and journeys that we go through, and even sharing the stuff with the team as well and what they've experienced, and then almost concocting and deducing and refining essentially what that means to experience it as a game, to experience it as an interactive sort of form. So yeah, that's kind of where it all sort of started. And it's funny because, again, like, you look at it and you're like, oh yeah, the mechanic is just switching between two masks, and it's like, yeah, but it stemmed from all this X, Y, and Z.
Honestly, like, anybody playing the game after listening to that you see it in a different way.
Yeah.
You really will.
Yeah, absolutely. And were there any sort of specific influences aside from the Bantu Tales that sort of were really influential to, I guess, the setting and the story?
Yeah, I think really essentially, it comes from experiences that I've had, in life, things that I've enjoyed is, a lot of, like, for example, like the animation feels quite like mangery, like you've got like the cool sort of Kamehameha beam, right? That's obviously, my love for Dragon Ball Z when I was growing up as a kid, elements of like even the art style. We wanted to kind of capture this sense of, again, very much like an anime manga sort of vibe to it, because this is the stuff that I grew up to as a kid, and this is the stuff that I really, really loved. I'd say, like, the influences are, both from real life as well as from other games, and it's as I say, like, it is just pulling as a celebration of them all. The creation of the universe of Tales of Kenzera, for example, really is coming from a love of storytelling, again, of being like, I grew up basically playing Pokemon on my Game Boy, watching it on TV, then collecting the cards. Like, I just wanted to be in the world, right? So, that's sort of where the Tales of Kenzera universe stems from. It comes from a sense of wanting to be in these worlds, pulling, looking at Discworld and looking at Lord of the Rings, all this stuff. So, yeah, it's a mixture of everything, man. Like, it really is, and it's just, again, a celebration of my childhood and what my father meant to me as a kid.
That's really cool to hear all of that as well, because I think people will look at it and be like, okay, well, it's very clearly sort of inspired by Africa and sort of African tradition. And that's something we don't see very much in gaming. But then hearing you speak, it's like, but there are all these other influences as well. And it's this real, like, melting pot of all these different things, which is very, I guess, you. And that's what makes the game, I think, so authentic.
Yeah. And I think that's what truly is. I think that's why I've seen this game to the end of it all. Is because it comes from a place of authenticity. It comes from myself, and the more vulnerable and the more open I am, the more honest the game is, and the more kind of honest these pieces of elements come through. So yeah, it's been really important to just be truthful. Yeah.
Why do you think that we don't see enough games with this kind of setting, with this kind of authenticity? Because it's playing it, it feels like it's something that's really fresh. And obviously that's a great thing for the game, but I almost wish that kind of setting wasn't seen as that. Like, we should see this kind of stuff all the time.
I think there's a mixture of things. I think, like, a lot of the people, again, like, who I would say are, people write what you know. Like, you got to write what you know. That's important, and I think, like, a lot of the people who are in control and who sort of lead the charge on this stuff, why should they, write about sort of African myth and legends if they know about it? You know what I mean? And that's totally fine. But again, I think I've been very fortunate to be in a position of where and this is why I really wanted to, run a game studio and tell these stories, is because I knew that I wanted to tell it from an authentic place. And I've been very fortunate to be able to do that. And so I think over time, I hope, we're able to kind of see more kind of independent developers and independent storytellers tell these stories and have it championed by, like, the EAs out there. I think, like, that's what we need more of. You look at even like Prince of Persia and the fact that it was VO'd in Farsi. Like, that's dope. You know what I mean? Like, that's really, you want more of that. And I think, like, that's just what will happen naturally. But I think we're in a time now, and this is what I love about the games industry as well. It's like, the games industry is constantly evolving and constantly moving and constantly changing, because it's based on tech. And it's also, and the thing about tech is, and the beauty of what tech can bring is, it tries to make it as accessible to everyone as possible, right? That's essentially it. Nowadays, like everyone's technically a gamer. If you got Candy Crush on your phone, I'm sorry, you are a gamer. It's like,
I tell my mum that. She just sits playing solitaire. I'm like, Mum, you're a gamer.
You're a gamer. This
Wordle,
is it.
Even Wordle is. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So this is it.
Yeah.
So like it's becoming, a thing where we are all going to be playing these games, and you're going to inspire someone out there like me who had no idea how to make a game, want to make a game. It happens, and they tell a story. And I think like that's essentially what will happen. I think the one thing that I do hope that this game does do is as well, it invites other people to see like, hey, this is actually a really cool setting, and it's really, beautiful. I want more. And even if someone out there is like, actually I could do a better job than this guy in this story, like that's even better, because then it's that sense of just constantly pushing forward and growing with it. Or
and you're talking about big companies like EA noticing it and stuff like that. Have you had much feedback from like the big companies and people high up there?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's funny actually. After the Game Awards, I think everyone was like, oh wow, this is actually really cool.
Yeah.
And so I ended up talking with a lot of really cool people. I mean, the fact that, like, for example, like PlayStation, they gave us we've got this deal with them that puts our game on their premium, and plus sort of platform and catalog on day of release. Like that doesn't happen, and that's and that's what was really great about it as well. Like, and it was solely because I think truly spurred on by the Game Awards. Like they were inspired by it. And I think like even the support from Xbox and the support from Nintendo, it's all come from this place of like, this is really cool. He's speaking from the heart here. You don't really see that much, right? So I think like that's what's been really lovely about this whole journey in a way, is that we've been able to build a community of people, just of everyone, but also have people within these positions of the Xboxes, the Microsofts, the Sonys, they're all eyes are on it, and I think that's what's really dope.
I guess that adds pressure, but it's good pressure.
Oh, totally. Like it makes it all terrifying, but at the same time, it's like, again, as I say, like at the end of the day, like I'm just hoping, I'm just hoping that people will enjoy the game and take something from it really on an emotional level. Again, I don't think, I'm not aiming to be like the best Metroidvania out there, man. I'm just celebrating the genre of it all, enjoying it. And I think that's what we're all kind of driven by. We're not trying to, reinvent the wheel. We're just playing within the limitations of a Metroidvania genre and pushing it to as far as we can get to.
Yeah. Now, the next question, I'm going to let you say it, but I'm like genuinely one of the things I've been listening, because I've been wandering in and out while you've been playing it, but the music is just phenomenal. Like
it's sensational, isn't it?
Sitting last night watching the credits, and I was like, this music is just incredible.
But I just wanted to ask about it really, like, because I love that sort of mix of like orchestration, but also then all the traditional sort of instruments and singing that are in there. It's a really beautiful mix. Like, what was your kind of aim with the music? Was there anything in particular that you were going for?
Yeah, so when I brought Nanita on very early, and this was something that, again, what I realized is not normal. Normally, you bring in a composer like by the end of the game or near the end of the game, but I brought in Nanita like super early because I wanted her to kind of grow and evolve with us on this whole thing. And I remember telling Nanita this. I was like, this is a communication between two different generations, between two different cultures in a way. You've got the modern day sort of like, Zuberi sort of mentality, like basically me, this first generation, Kenyan or Brit in a way, like, I've got my history is Kenyan, obviously, but I'm very much London. I was brought up in England even. And then you've got the father who is very much Kenzeran and very much kind of, traditional, and who's essentially speaking through Zao. So for me, it was really important to capture this clash of like trying to communicate through the music. When you've got the drums, then you've got the synth, and sometimes you're like, how does this mix? And then when it does, you're like, oh my God, it makes sense. And like, that's really something. And even with the voice, like the power of the voice, and you don't understand what's being said, but you do at the same time, which is why we really wanted even the lyrics to be in, you know, Swahili or Zulu or Xhosa. Like it's to communicate something on a different level, even though it's a human voice. And so like that was something that, you know, me and Anita and even Rob, our technical audio, you know, lead essentially, really kind of sat down and just went through. You know, it's that same thing of like, you know, you look at Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, you've got the Spider-Man hero theme, right? It's such a good film. It's such a good film.
You've got the art book back there.
Oh yeah. God, it's fantastic. Really? And like, but the music was what really stuck, you know, really hit me because it was heroic, but then of Miles. And like you had that element of like, these two shouldn't mix, but they do, and it's gorgeous. And it's like, and that's what we really wanted to capture. It's this sense of like these two different perspectives seeing the same thing and trying to communicate in the same way and light. But yeah, it was really, the music is something that I'm so happy and proud of and just love. And I'm a massive, like for me, it's all about game soundtracks and movie soundtracks. So it was so important to ensure that we captured that on a level that felt, again, representative of the experience that we wanted to give.
Yeah. Genuinely, yeah. We'll be listening to that soundtrack. In fact, today
sure.
I was listening to the Citizen Sleeper soundtrack. Like I love a good soundtrack.
Yeah.
Actually, Into the Spider-Verse. That is it What's Up Danger? The name of it, when he's jumped.
Yeah.
Like when he becomes.
Oh man,
Spider-Man.
what? Yeah, so good.
Chills, so good. Just chills every time.
Oh.
So, what have you learned then about game development as part of this project? I mean, you mentioned that, you know, it's difficult. Is there anything that's in particular that has surprised you?
Oh man, I think just the support and the love that people give. I think like on a level that feels almost like, basically, put it this way. Everyone wants you to succeed. Everyone wants a good game. That's all that people want, right? And that's all they really care about. They want a good game. And so what's been really great is being in a position of making a game, sharing it, getting feedback, and seeing that feedback, not in the sense of like, oh my God, they hate me, they want me to burn. No, they're like, no, we just want this to be really cool, and this is where we feel like, you know, it could really excel in. So like, I think that's been a big lesson of like, you know, the sense that everyone actually, the community is actually very supportive, even though there is that loud minority where it does feel a bit like, we don't want this, but actually really, truly, you know, across all that, there is so much love to that, you know, people want to just give and share. And I'd say, you know, the other aspect of sort of game dev that really sort of that I've learned a hell of a lot from is just, again, how long it takes to make a game, and just how much work is needed to do that. And communication is key, man. Like, it is so important, you know. I mean, like, I kind of look at it like, we've been building this game for 4 years. I've done like 2 feature films, 3 seasons of TV, and directed a short film at the same time, all in the space of just making this one game. You know, it's insane. Like, it really takes a long time. And so you got to really also think like the amount of work that's been put into this thing, even though to most people it would have been, you know, they would have been aware of this game just from the Game Awards to now. We've known this game for years. You know, you
said 4 years ago. So was it like during kind of lockdown that?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, I pitched this game over Zoom, and I'm amazed that EA said yes.
Brilliant. That's incredible. Now, I
was going to say as well, it's called Tales of Kenzera, which is obviously plural. Is the plan that this sort of, you know, Kenzera becomes like a universe, becomes a series with more stories to tell?
That's the plan. So, like, for me, I'm a big believer of, again, telling stories within the right medium and respecting the medium you tell it in. And again, coming back to what I said, it's like, if I had the opportunity of doing something once, I got to make it really big. So for me, Tales of Kenzera is a universe that I've got this idea and plan of how I want it to evolve and aspire to, and the stories that I want to tell in it. You know, pulled again from that same space of real authenticity and honesty, the human truth. It goes beyond, you know, race, gender. It's raw and real. Like, that is really where I'm wanting to pull from and what I want to tell. Again, obviously it depends on how successful Tales of Kenzera is, but like at the same time, I'm like, I do want to go big with it, you know, and I do have this, you know, I do want to tell multiple stories and multiple elements of it all, be it through film, TV, comics, games, theater. Like there's a whole plan that I have with it all.
Oh, brilliant. So yeah, completely multimedia,
kind of, hitting, just transcending media in a way. But again, it's about respecting the medium you tell it in, right? Like, I couldn't imagine Zao being a TV show or even like a film. It had to be a game. It had to be experienced through the mechanics of what it was. So that's why, you know, that's why I told it in a game. Other stories, however, will be shared in different ways and different lights.
Yeah. Brilliant. Now, so what is next for you? Are you going to be continuing with your acting? Because it sounds like you were incredibly busy during this, but are you going to put more time into game development, or?
I mean, I've got to raise a baby. No, I'm again, it's building the studio, right, and telling more stories with the studio, as well as doing the acting stuff as well. Like, I love it as well, and you know, with House of the Dragon literally around the corner, like it's something that it's, you know, I really just want to dive more into. So yeah, there's all sorts of stuff kicking off, and I'm planning and cooking. So it's going to be very busy, you know. My aim is to retire by 40, so I've got now 9 years.
Wow. I've only got a few years left until then.
You've got like 4.
No chance of me doing that. But so will your studio be kind of focused on just on games, or are you going to, like you said, if you can?
Oh, we do everything.
Yeah,
we do everything. Whatever comes through. I think really, ultimately, again, like, I think the strength of us right now is our game studio, our game arm. We'll develop the film and TV arm as we go along. But like, yeah, I think for me, something that I just love making games, man. I love it. I love the process of playing something and experiencing it. So
you got the bug now.
Yeah, it is a bug. It really is.
Yeah, I'm sure there are people listening to this or watching this that are going to be able to relate
and are very excited about more.
Yeah,
absolutely. So to finish up, then, obviously this is a game. It's about, you know, grief and about grieving, amongst other things. But what would you like players to take away from their experience when they play Tales of Kenzera?
Yeah, I think it's funny. It's a good question because it keeps evolving and changing. And I've said in the past, like, it's about, you know, essentially realizing that it's okay to not be okay. You know, I've said that, and it still stands. This idea that actually, you know what, it's good to be aware of your emotions. That's that's truly the kind of the thing that I want people to really kind of take from it and see from it. It's like this sense of just being honest with yourself and authentic with yourself, in the same way that I have been in creating the process of this game, as well as the game experience as a whole. Like, just being you is a lot more interesting than trying to be something else. But, you know, over time, I've sort of, you know, and especially during this whole like press run and seeing people, you know, the reception of it all, I just want to inspire other people to tell cool stories like this. I think, like, I just want people to be inspired, to know that actually there is room for stories like this, honest stories, cool stories, different stories. People want it, you know, and actually, you know, take that and run with it. You know, just be inspired by it. I want to inspire people. The fact that, like, I am, you know, I'm an actor who had no idea how to make games 4 years ago. No idea. Now I've got, you know, I'm about to launch our first game with EA, you know, to reviews coming out left, right, and center. Like, it's like, you know, it's a thing, but it's possible, as long as, you know, you don't have to. Don't restrict yourself, essentially, is what I'm trying to say here. It's like you can do whatever you want.
I think a lot of people are craving something different as well from gaming, and this, from playing it, absolutely fills that gap. Like, it's like nothing else that I've played, especially in terms of the storytelling and the setting and things. So that for me is why it really stands out. And best of luck for, release date next week, this week. Sorry.
I think with the Game Awards, I think at the Game Awards as well, that was something that really resonated, was that it was a surprise. Like, it was something different, because you all expect kind of the sequels, and obviously not to put down any other types of genres or other games, but like, it was something really fresh.
Do it.
No, like, I play all sorts of games, so I won't, but like, yeah, it was something, it wasn't a sequel, it was just something completely new, something fresh, and something that had like a real identity behind it as well.
Thank you, man. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Brilliant. And
oh boy.
Yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, for those listening or watching, Tales of Kenzera is out on the 23rd of April. And it's on, like I said earlier, it's on everything. It's on PC, Switch, PS5, Xbox Series X, S.
Yep.
It's
and PS Plus if you
PS Plus if you got it,
yeah.
Everything.
You can play it on so many different ways. So,
well, look, Avi, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Really, really appreciate it. And as we said, best of luck with the launch.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
Thank you. And where can people find you on socials?
I'm everywhere, man. Like, so the studio is we're on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, because it is called Twitter.
I refuse to as well.
X. What a weird name. Anyway, it's still even twitter.com. Anyway, so yeah, it's that.
And that's Surgent Studios.
Yeah, Surgent Studios, but I'm on Instagram and Twitter as well. Abzi Salim on Instagram, and then on Twitter I'm Abzi Babzi. So yeah, because some fool took Abzi Babzi on Instagrams, and I'll hunt them down till the end of my days.
I still rant at the person that has biggest Bennis that hasn't tweeted since 2010. So
honestly, anyway,
tell me about it. Yeah, but we'll put the links below. We'll put the links below anyway, so everyone can click on it as well.
Amazing.
But yeah, thank you so much again for joining us, and for everybody else for watching and listening. I hope you enjoy Tales of Kenzera, and I hope you've enjoyed this interview. And yeah, I can't wait to listen back to it, to be honest.
Thank you.
And especially, and then go and play it, because I'm quite jealous that you've already done that.
Yeah, I won't spoil anything.
I obviously didn't break any embargo, so I couldn't play it, but I did definitely have a little look. But yeah, brilliant. But yeah, amazing. Watching, thank you very much for watching. If you go to swappingjoysticks.com, you can get access to all our kind of social channels and Twitter and previous episodes as well. Check them out all on YouTube or on any place that you get your podcast from.
Nice. Perfect. And we'll see you all next time.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.